Hey guys, it's Chris from the Ultimate Recycler, and no, a helicopter hasn't crashed into my shed. I picked up a couple of ceiling fans alongside the road. They've been outside a house locally for a week or so. I thought, what the hell, let's pick them up. There's some electric motors in them. There's a bit of wiring. There's going to be some hardware. Let's just scrap them out and see how much value we can get. I don't think they really have any value as second-hand fans to be used. There's no controllers with them. As I said, they were out in the weather for a week or more before I picked them up. I noticed the blades are a bit loose on this one. They've got light fittings as well. So let's pull them apart. We'll start with one and we'll basically break it down. Then I'll do the other. Then we'll weigh up what we've got. And we'll get a rough idea of how long it takes us, just to see if it really is worth picking up these things for scrap. Now we'll start with taking the light fitting off. We have a brass nut, and it looks like there's a brass threaded piece there too. The old rubber washer's a bit perished. That's no good. It's just going to break up. As for the glass shades, I don't know if they're going to be of much value. They probably don't fit modern fans anyway, and they're not really any good for much else. Can't think of an immediate use for them, but if you guys can think of some sort of use, let me know. I don't really want to put them in the bin, but unless I have a good use for them, I don't think I can sell them. Right, we have a couple of compact fluorescent tubes here. So I will use these in lamps at the shop, even though they're kind of old technology now. Most people use LED globes. They still are fine to put in a lamp to sell a lamp, so we'll use those. Alright, so we have the fittings and a bracket here. We'll start pulling the hardware out. It's a bit dented on the side there too, so they're really not saleable as usable items. So we're going to get plenty of pressing steel or shred, which I don't sell, but I will weigh it up so that you guys know how much, because I know some of you do sell it. There's a connector block. We'll take that out as well. And we are going to get a bit of wiring. Little connector block there. Now I think it'll make the job a whole lot easier if we take these blades off. Because I don't have a lot of room on my bench. They were loose. Lucky someone didn't fit this to their ceiling and have blades fly around. So they're all just steel. Let's just check that. No. Well, the brackets are, but the blades themselves are aluminium. That's a surprise. So I could just grind the rivets off, which I think I'll do. Or we could throw them in irony aluminium just like this, but we are going to get some value for the blades. That's great news. Okay, we have an earth anchor point up here, and there's a plastic collar through here, but there's a pin through it. If we tap this down a bit, then we can tap the pin out. Is that steel? Yep. Now the plastic collar will come right off. Don't think that's any good for anything. And we can take this collar off now. That's probably going to be steel. Where's my magnet? Yes, definitely. So we'll start a small pile of shred steel, and then we can proceed to take things off here. So now we have a collar here, which is steel again, and this shroud is probably going to be steel again. Yes, it is. Now we have a split pin here, or a cotter pin, and the bolt that goes through this shaft. I'm going to need a spanner for that one, or a shifter, or an adjustable wrench, whatever you like to call it. So we have a little bit more steel here, but we better check it because I was wrong before. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty. We have another earth wire here. There's another connector block. Now we have the switch, because these fans are reversible. You have one direction for winter and one for summer. And a little bracket. And it looks like the switch wires are soldered on. We'll snip them just behind where they solder on. So that's a nice little reusable toggle switch. Okay, what have we got here? We've got some joiners. We'll snip those off because we don't want them in with our wire. Okay, we also have a large capacitor here, which is for noise suppression, stops interference on a lot of the other electronic items in the house. And there's another connector block on this side as well. So there's our capacitor. Okay, length of wire. Our other connector block. Now those wires all go straight down into the motor. So we really just have these light fittings on this side. How do they attach? Screws from up top by the looks of it. So a couple of light fittings there, which take the Edison screw globes. And we could probably just remove this brass threaded piece here. So a piece of brass. And if we take off the bottom nut here, this bracket is also threaded. We're going to take the rest of the light fitting off, which we better check. Oh, look at that. Aluminium. Always worth checking. Nice. And the rest of it, I'm not going to pull apart any further because we can sell that as it is, as an electric motor, and it's got a fair bit of weight to it. We could pull it apart a bit further and see what's inside it. There's a bit of brass there, but I'm inclined just to leave that well alone. We have to take the other bits off it because the scrapyards get a bit funny if you have too much stuff attached to your electric motors, but that will certainly go as a motor. So there we go. I'll do the other one and we'll see what we get out of 2 ceiling fans. I'll also just grind the rivets off all these so we have our clean aluminium. And then we'll just put it all in respective piles, have a look at the hardware I'm going to get, weigh it all up, get the notepad out, because I know you guys like the notepad, and we'll just see what it adds up to. So we'll call that one scrapped out. I will do the other one, and I'll watch the clock and see how long it takes me. I will grind the rivets off these to get that metal bracket off these aluminium blades, and then we'll do a weigh up. We'll have a look at the hardware that I've saved as well and just see what sort of value I'm going to get in relation to the time we spent on it. And a couple of ceiling fans then will be mostly recycled. Job's all done now. I just ground the tops off these rivets with the angle grinder and then a suitable sized punch, and pretty much one hit popped the rivets out. They're steel rivets and I picked up most of them. I'm sure there's a few around the floor that I'll find with if I walk out here with no shoes, much like standing on a Lego block, I suspect. So we have some nice clean aluminium blades, and we have everything else sorted, and I've got some notes written down on the notepad. Let's have a look at that. Oh, these are aluminium as well. Now our total, if you were just scrapping, $14.50 for 2 fans. Now it took me 10 minutes pretty well exactly to do the second one. I reckon I could do it a lot quicker if I did a few in a row. So let's say 10 minutes, 20 minutes, let's say half an hour, just to allow for the fact that you might not do 5 or 10 in a row. So half an hour to get $14.50 in scrap. Electric motors were the best, $8 approximately. I didn't write down the prices for these, but they worked out approximately 50 cents per lot. A little bit of brass. I ended up taking the other brass fittings out of the motor. They were on the bottom side of the motor. They just unscrewed really easily. And also a little bit more wire pulled out. Insulated wire, about 100 grams of that, and the shred steel I just put all in one spot for now to give us a price for the average scrapper at today's or current prices from my yard. So that's almost 30 bucks an hour. As I said, I did it in under 30 minutes easy, so let's say $30 an hour. Not bad really, worth picking up I think. Plus the bonus is we got 4 good light globes to reuse. And a lot of this other stuff, you scrappers would probably just throw into the e-waste bucket or in the bin. With my shop, I can get $2 a switch, I think. I have a lot of switches at the shop and people go through them all the time looking for ones for projects. So $2 per switch. The capacitors, $1 each. Also, I will probably not put those in brass. I will put them in a jar for brass hardware. Perhaps not that one, that's a bit corroded. And I sell a ½ kilo jar of brass fittings and hardware for $10. So that means I'm getting $20 per kilo for brass instead of a bit over $8. Also, the hardware that I weighed up as shred, as you know, I sell that in jars, and that equals around about 50 cents worth of hardware at $5 a kilo. The insulated sleeves I'll put into a jar, the connector blocks I'll put into a jar. It all adds to value to me. And even this pile of shred, I probably won't include those bits. And even these brackets, perhaps that collar. That collar was broken, the other one's still attached. The awkward bits can just go as shred, but these bits are useful pieces of metal. And I'll just make up an assorted box of handy bits of metal and put $5 on it. So I'm going to get a lot better than shred price. Also, the light fittings, I could probably try $1 each on. People do buy them for various projects. I will use the light globes. The little tags here that I cut off the earth wires, I'll put that in irony brass or dirty brass because it's got some insulation on it. I think that covers everything. So I just wrote down the main few things. The switches, $4. The capacitors, $2. The light fittings, $4. There's $10 more. Plus, we've probably got a couple of dollars worth of extra bits of hardware. I think that worked out about $1, about 50 cents, as I said. And the other bits will go to fill jars. So there's some pretty good value here for me. I'm certainly going to be exceeding my $30 an hour. And I'm getting plenty of shop stock. And the only thing I'm throwing out, what do we have? A small pile of rubbish. Oh, and the glass light shades. I honestly can't think of any way of repurposing them. I mean, you could probably put one in your garden and grow a fern in it and maybe hang it in a basket or something, but I don't see any value as far as selling. And then there's just other bits of insulation stuff there. And these little connectors, too much plastic to go in the irony brass, I'll just put them in the e-waste bucket. But everything else can be either sold as scrap metal or perhaps be useful for someone in a form of hardware. So for me, $40 plus per hour is worth picking up these ceiling fans. They're fun to scrap, they're quick. If I had a few to do in a row, I'd whip through them in quicker than 10 minutes per fan. It took a little while to just grind the rivets. A lot of them don't have aluminium blades, so to be fair, you probably won't get that much value back on aluminium. And some of the vintage fans had like timber, bamboo type blades, and some of them of course have steel blades. But these particular ones, not bad. Well worth me picking up, and if I see any out on the streets again, I'll probably grab them because they're a fun, quick scrap. Increases my stock of scrap to take to Melbourne when I get a load, and adds a bit of hardware stock to my shop. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed that little breakdown. I've enjoyed doing this, and it's amazing. These have been sitting in my yard for a week or two, and it started to make my yard look like a junkyard. Yes, I know I can hear Christine saying now it already looks like a junkyard. But these big things are gone, out, finished, ready to be sold. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.